You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
From breathtaking cliff dives to the mega rush of free-ride mountain biking, Red Bull harnessed 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to put adrenaline on display. Relying on the strength of our 5G network, Red Bull powered POV drones to deliver unmatched views while broadcasting in real time from some of the most remote locations in America. This is heart-pounding fan experiences. This is Red Bull with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
It's time to get inside the Giants Huddle.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
On Giants.com.
I like it.
And the Giants mobile app.
Boom, give me some juice.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's roll.
Welcome into the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. Madelyn, Burke here with the Super Bowl champ Amani, Toomer for a Week 5 rapid reaction. The Giants went out to Seattle and got the win on the road at Lumen Field. 29-20 is the final score. Giants improved to 2-3 on the season, but Amani, a huge special teams play, really decided this one. The Giants were up 23-20. Seattle is driving down the field. They're in field goal range. They go for the field goal. Isaiah Simmons jumps over the line, blocks the kick. Bryce Ford-Wheaton scoops, recovers, runs it back for the touchdown, and it's 29-20, and that would be the final score. There was a minute left on the clock, though, so I will say some veterans probably would have knelt at the goal line and milked the clock, but it's great to see the rookie or the young player getting his first touchdown.
You never know when you're going to get another opportunity to score a touchdown in the NFL, especially on the road and that atmosphere. I mean, that is a special place to be, and to come out victorious, something I've never done in my career. I've been to Seattle 2 or 3 times, always left with an L, and for this team to, the way it started out, how they had the ball on the 1-yard line, fumbled, and
Rayshon Jenkins runs it back 102 yards.
Yeah, runs it back 102 yards. And that is not the most friendly environment for visitors. And for them, that's a win multiplier. Like, that's a win that you're going to think back to throughout the rest of the season when you're struggling, and you're going to say, hey, we did it in Seattle, we can do it again. And this team is going to be able to fight a little bit more. They're going to have a lot more confidence in their coaching situation because, Isaiah Simmons was coached to do, that play was a design play for him to jump over the line. And one thing that you want as a player is you want to trust that your coaching staff is going to put you in a position to succeed. And that's exactly what this coaching staff did. And there's a lot of players that are now when they ask you to do something, you might not understand all the time what they're doing, but hey, well, it worked for Isaiah. I'm just going to do what they tell me.
Right.
And that's a good way, a building block between the locker room and the coaching staff that's going to be built every week at a time. And I think this is a great step forward in that the relationship between the players and the coaches.
You're ready for a change. Payday comes early with Citizens, so go to that retreat. New you moves to the country. Now you're raising goats and launching a lifestyle brand. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Yeah, and huge credit to Giants special teams coordinator Michael Gabriel, his first year in the role with the Giants. His first year in the role, he's coming from the Jets where he was an assistant special teams coordinator last season. But Brian Daboll said, hey, Gobi had this play idea. They worked on it, and they said, okay, this is the guy. I think Isaiah could be the guy to jump over. He'd be perfect for that. And Dabes was excited to use it and looked to him a couple times like, hey, what are you thinking? And Gobi said, no, not yet. We're going to build up to it. And it was the right situation, the right circumstance, and the right ability to put yourself in that position to use it in a pivotal moment in the game that secured the win. And this is a interesting thing, too, because the way that the game started and the way that the game ended was, a lost ball by one team, scooped and recovered for a touchdown by the other. Of course, you mentioned that, that opening drive, Rayshon Jenkins scoring that touchdown, the Giants getting a big hole. And it reminded us a little bit, too, of that Cleveland game.
Yeah.
You know, you start the opening drive, you're putting something together, and you're in a deficit on the road early. And the resilience of this team to be able to say, no, we're not going to stay in this hole. We're going to fight back. And in Sunday's game against Seattle, Giants offense got right back on the field, put together another drive, and made it happen.
The Seahawks had an opportunity to win that game. They were in striking distance to score, and the defense stood up and forced that field goal. Let's not forget about how well this defense played. 7 sacks and really taking out DK Metcalf. Tay Banks had a great game, against DK Metcalf, frustrating him, covering him very well. And, aside from a few real good plays from Lockett, these defensive backs are coming of age, and they're really starting to, allow that defensive line to really, put forth that pressure and get those sacks. 7 sacks is nothing to scratch at on the road. And that's a place where usually the New York Giants or the visiting team's defense really gets off because of the fact that the crowd noise really hurts offensive linemen. But man, the Giants offensive line handled it well, and the Seattle offensive line really struggled today with what the defense for the New York Giants up front had to offer.
Yeah, Shane Bowen was calling a lot of pressure. They were getting a lot of pressure on Geno Smith. Again, you mentioned 7 sacks, 3 of them from Dexter Lawrence, who's leading the Giants and having a dominant 6 sacks on the year so far, and it's only week 5. But you mentioned also DK Metcalf, just 4 receptions for 55 yards on the day, which is some light work considering what we've seen from him in weeks past. Tay Banks really taking the coaching from Jerome Henderson this week and leveling up his play. Had a huge moment in which he forced a fumble from DK Metcalf. Metcalf's second lost fumble in the last 2 games. Tay Banks punches out the ball. He fumbles it. Rookie safety Tyler Nubin recovers, and a huge defense turning to offense play for the Giants. But you also mentioned playing on the road in Seattle. It is loud and it is hard to communicate, and especially for a visiting offense, it's hard to communicate. When you look at the fact that the Giants had just 2 penalties on the day,
yes.
2 penalties for 20 yards. This is a scenario in which you're anticipating penalties because of the lack of communication, the discipline and the preparation in which the Giants had to be able to function in this environment, on top of the fact that the way that they played on the field was able to at times silence this typically loud crowd was huge.
Yeah, and how you silence the crowd is you make them go 3 of 11 for 27% on 3rd down. That is you're going to win a lot of games playing that way. And conversely on offense, we're a 7 of 16 for 43%. Let's say 44%. That keeps you on the field. That keeps their defense on the field, and it allows your defense to stay fresh on the sideline where they're getting the ball back to the offense. The Giants also dominated the time of possession, 37 minutes, 37-20 to 22-38, which is, this is a team in Seattle that's known for their running game, and the fact that their running game really got shut down, and especially their leading rusher, Kenneth Walker only had 19 yards on 5 carries. That was the mission, as we heard today from Dexter Lawrence. Stopping him was a big part of their game plan, and that's exactly what they did. And it really goes to show that this team is coming together in a way that is getting to be exciting. We're bubbling with excitement here. Who would have thought that the Jets and the Giants would have the same record going into Week 5 after the poor performance that the Giants had in Week 1? This just goes to show you got to keep on playing out these games, and you got to keep on fighting and keep the resilience going. And that's one of the things that's really encouraging me about this team is this resilience that they are showing.
You love turf. You're good at it. So you start a turf biz. Business grows, your savings grow. Become the most celebrated name in turf. Are you ready for all that life brings?
Yeah, and it's a long season. Week in and week out, games are not won on paper; they're won on the field. And bearing the lead a little bit, but the Giants went into this game without Malik Neighbors, who was dealing with a concussion. Not only did he not play, he didn't travel to Seattle. Neighbors is by far the team's leading offensive weapon, taking the majority, the lion's share of the targets in the passing game. Also, without Devin Singletary, who's dealing with a groin injury. He is by far the Giants' leading rusher. And so 2 of the top weapons on the Giants' offense are not in the game, and the Giants still get the win, and they still produce a 122-yard receiver in Darius Slayton, 122 yards and a touchdown on 8 receptions, including a 41-yard bomb and a 30-yard touchdown reception connecting on the long ball. And Tyrone Tracy, the rookie running back, 129 yards in his first NFL start, averaging 7.2 yards per carry, which, Amani, that just put in perspective how much that is.
Yeah, when you...
On 18 carries.
On 18 carries, that is some very efficient football. The fact that he had 7.2 yards per carry, usually, what you want to have and what you would accept and what you'd be very, very happy with is if your running back got 4 yards a carry. That is like good, that's a solid day of rushing. But to have 7.2 yards per carry, that means for every 2 carries, you're already it's the first down. So, when the Giants, lost a Singletary, they just called Tyrone. And Tyrone Tracy came through today big time. It just goes to show, there's a lot of players on this team that you may not know, but that doesn't mean they're not talented. This is a rookie that's finally getting his opportunities. First rattle out of the cage, and this guy comes up with this very talented rookie. He's not just any old guy. 7.2, 128 yards, 27-yard long gain, and the way he ran was more impressive too. He wasn't dancing around all the way downhill, breaking a lot of tackles, he finished a lot of runs. What I call finishing runs is when, you're finishing running through somebody as opposed to running out of bounds or getting twisted around or stopping, trying to juke. The fact that you can run downhill and get some yards after contact, I would love to see his yards after contact numbers because Tyrone really had a day today.
Amani keeping it old school with us. Call Tyrone.
Call Tyrone.
If you know, you know. But yeah, the Giants offense, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. And also, credit to the rookie Theo Johnson, the tight end, getting involved too. 5 receptions, 48 yards as well. So the Giants were making do. Next man up is something you hear in the league all the time. But without their 2 biggest weapons on offense, not only did they produce, they got the win in Seattle on the road. It's a long flight back, and that flight is going to feel a lot better having one in the win column. Now, Giants are turning it around because week 6, you got Sunday Night Football at MetLife Stadium. You got the Cincinnati Bengals coming to town. The Bengals, when you looked at this schedule before the season, you're looking at that team thinking, okay, this is a big, bad Bengals team. The Bengals are 1-4 on the year after an overtime loss to the Ravens at home in week 5. They do have a lot of weapons. Joe Burrow is an incredible quarterback. They've got some incredible tools and incredible weapons on this roster, so it's nothing to sleep on. You're not playing the record, you're playing the team. But going up against a team as talented as the Bengals are and their ability to put points on the board, but coming off of this win going into that week of Sunday Night Football preparation, how do you put into words what this Giants locker room feels like going into week 6?
If you can win on both sides of the front, like they did today, both offensive line and defensive line, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to win a lot of games. I mean, if you can run for 175 yards, you don't got much to worry about. If you can get 420 yards, you don't have much to worry about. And this secondary, I mean, they took out DK Metcalf. I know T. Higgins,
Jamar Chase,
and Jamar Chase. Both of those guys have, they're a step up in talent. But I feel like the Giants, if the front is putting on the pressure, then Joe Burrow has been hit a lot and often this year, which is one of the reasons why they haven't been as successful. I think the Giants have a real matchup present a real matchup issue for the Cincinnati Bengals up front. And so all the window dressing, all those great skill position players, it doesn't mean a hill of beans if they can't protect Joe Burrow. And the way Dexter Lawrence is, Sexy Dexy is playing, and the way Burns is playing, and Thibodeau and Davis up front, there's a lot to be worried about if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. And there's a lot of good, strong sentiment in this locker room, knowing that up front you can handle anybody. And that the Giant offensive line is also opening up a lot of holes. And we don't have a Derrick Henry, but we do have we have Tyrone. And
call Tyrone.
We could call Tyrone one more time.
Call Tyrone.
See what he could do. I'm really excited to see this matchup, because I feel like we match up very well against the Giants. Match up very well versus the Cincinnati Bengals because of the dominance up front over the last couple weeks.
Well, and also the Sunday Night Football game will not only be in prime time in front of a national audience, the Giants will also be celebrating the 100th season with a little bit more pageantry there. And the first 25,000 fans in attendance will get a Tom Coughlin bobblehead. So if you're coming through MetLife, keep that in mind. Sunday Night Football, Week 6. That's a wrap for our Week 5 rapid reaction, though, because this one is a win. Giants improved to 2-3 on the year after a 29-20 win over the Seahawks in Seattle. The Giants Huddle is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. From game day celebrations to your everyday financial needs, Big Blue fans can get the most out of every moment with Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants. For Amani Toomer, I'm Madelyn Burke. We'll see you next time.